Okay, it's time to study. Wait, how am I supposed to study if my space is a mess? It's okay, I'll just clean it quick. Okay, now that my desk is clean, it's time to study. What's the time? This is a strange time. I'll start at around hour. Oh golly, I still need to film a YouTube video for this week. I should probably do that first. Have you ever tried to study for a test or exam and found yourself wasting hours of time on silly little distractions? Procrastination is one of the biggest struggles that students face, especially in this digital world that has so many quick distractions that add up to hours. And we all know I'm talking about TikTok. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name's Michelle and I'm a technical theatre student making creative and hopefully sometimes relatable content. I'm not going to spend too much time in this intro because I don't want us to waste any time on our studying, because you're probably watching this video as you are procrastinating. So let's just get straight into my top 10 tips on avoiding distraction and procrastination while you're studying. Tip number 1. Planning is super important if you want to have a productive study session. Make a plan on what you're going to study in your study session and have a goal as to how much time you're planning on spending for that topic. It helps you to keep yourself accountable and also work towards the end point. And if you're planning and making a list, you're gonna get that amazing satisfaction of ticking the topic off once you're done. When you do a bit of planning ahead of time, you're not wasting time deciding on what you want to study in the middle of your study session and wasting time trying to find all the source material that you need to learn. Tip number 2. Know when your most productive working times are and know your limits. Personally, I know that my best study times are in the morning, probably from 9 to 1 o'clock, and then later in the evening from 8 to 12. I usually struggle to study in the middle of the day because there's so many other distractions. People are up, your family's in and about, and I kind of just feel left out of the world's motions and things that are going on when I'm sitting in my room staring at books while everyone else is having fun. So for me, studying in more quiet hours when no one's awake or there's not much going on yet, then I feel more productive and less distracted. Now, of course, it's not always possible to only study in those hours because we have time constraints and we have a lot of work to get through. By setting majority of your workload in those times and even starting your study session in your most productive time is going to help you to get into the groove of things, and you will naturally work better in those times and feel more motivated as you are studying. It's also important to know your limits and see the signs of your brain needing a little break, and that's okay. If you know and understand the signs of yourself getting tired or overwhelmed and just take some time away from the books, you will save yourself a lot of frustration when you're trying to study but nothing is going in. Our brains need a break, and there's no point in trying to cram everything and do long study sessions if you're spending an extra hour of studying and you're not retaining any information. Number 3. Now, this is probably the most obvious tip when it comes to procrastination and distraction, but keep your phone as far away as possible and on silent. You know the saying, out of sight, out of mind. When our phone is next to us or close to us and we hear the notifications going off, It might seem like an innocent few minutes that we are checking our messages and our notifications, but as soon as you give into that temptation of just quickly scrolling on Instagram or TikTok just to watch one video, the one video turns into several hours of content that you're feeding into your brain. And at the end of the day, when you spend so much time scrolling on your phone, your brain also gets tired of taking in short bits of information. My favorite hiding spot for my phone is in my wardrobe underneath my clothes. After a while, you tend to just forget about your phone and you can move on with your life in peace. Tip number 4. Now, if you can't bear keeping your phone too far away from you, I suggest you record yourself studying. Now, I know this sounds weird, and you definitely don't have to share it with anyone or even watch it yourself, but recording a time lapse of yourself studying keeps you off your phone because you cannot scroll and look through things on your phone while you are recording a video. And it also makes you kind of feel like someone is watching over you. So it helps you to keep yourself accountable. My next tip is to have a visible timer running. This can either be an extra tab on your laptop that you just put there, or if you have some sort of stopwatch, that could also work, I guess. But we tend to check the clock every few minutes when we're bored and we're sick of the work to see how much time has passed, which in totality actually makes your study session feel so much longer and so much drawn out because you are literally checking every minute that goes by. By setting a countdown timer, you feel somewhat pressured to get the work done within that time frame. It kind of feels like a little challenge, a little race, and it also mentally prepares you for writing a test where you will have a time limit to finish the work. Tip number 6. Now, this works for some people. I'm not one of these people. But before you start your study session, make sure all your snacks are ready to go and you have everything that you might want to nibble on during your study session. This is so that you don't constantly get up and walk to the pantry in the middle of your session to see what you can chew on next. I personally distract myself with snacks and food. And if I'm trying to eat while I study, I'm actually just fooling myself because I'm not putting any information in my brain. I'm just thinking about how good the food is. So this will work with some people, others it won't. But I just tend to have my big water bottle while I'm studying. And I don't know why, but it's important that it has a straw because it somehow keeps me occupied without distracting me at the same time. So I can literally just keep it over here and go, So my next tip relates to our earlier point about knowing what works for you and what your limits are. But try and make your first study session the longer / most productive one, because usually after your breaks, that's when you slowly start getting more and more distracted because you've seen the outside world, you see all the fun you're missing out on. And from the moment you get back from your break, you feel kind of drained. So really pushing to make your first session the most productive will help do some damage control as you get less and less productive in your future sessions for the day. Tip number 8. Now, during your short breaks, leave the study space. I cannot stress this enough. Now, they often say you should not have your study space in your bedroom. Unfortunately, that's not possible for everyone else. My study space is in my bedroom because I don't have other space to put a desk and all my stuff. But leaving your study space allows your brain to realize you're on a break, because when you're sitting there and just going on your phone in front of your books, your brain still feels like it's in study mode, and when you come back from that break, it's still going to be tired. Also, try to do an activity that you enjoy and recharges you in your short break. This could either be reading your favorite book, or listening to or making some music, or even just going for a walk outside just to get some fresh air. These kind of activities help you to switch off a little for a while and just get some enjoyment from things that you enjoy doing before going back to studying. Now, tip number 9 could go both ways, but this is to have people hold you accountable. Some people thrive in studying in a group setting because they can't study alone in the silence. They need people to bounce their ideas off of and kind of have that support group motivating them to study as well. And if this is your case, then I suggest you form some sort of interactive study group, or even just study in more public areas such as a coffee shop or a library. Asking your peers how far they are with their studies could drive you to be a little more proactive in your study sessions, or it could completely freak you out. So be cautious with this tip, but sometimes the motivation from others who are going through the same academic struggles as you will help you to stay motivated and realize that you're not alone in this. And my final tip, tip number 10, and this is if all else fails, even though it should probably be your first resort, but just pray about it. Now, I know this sounds extremely cheesy, but procrastination is a spiritual thing, and it stems from the fear of not succeeding or not being good enough, with a little bit of laziness. And we often feel if we leave our studying till the last minute, we have an excuse if we don't do well. But praying for a little bit of concentration and a clear mind will help you to have more peace while studying and help you to avoid the distractive thoughts that bring you further from the task at hand. I live my life by faith, and ultimately, God made my brain, so I'm sure He'll be able to calm it down as well. That's my top 10 tips in a nutshell for avoiding study procrastination. I hope that you enjoyed them and hopefully found them useful and will implement them in your next study session. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing for more content like this. I really appreciate your guys' support, and it motivates me to make more content for you. So, if you have any tips on this exact topic, make sure to leave them down in the comments below for your fellow procrastinating students that are watching this video. With that being said, it's time to start studying for that big test. So I suggest you click off this video now and hit the books. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!